tiny mistake on a single penny shocked the coin world and turned ordinary pocket change into a treasure worth thousands of dollars. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, pulling out a worn Lincoln penny, and discovering it could be worth more than a brand new car. That is exactly why collectors still obsess over the mysterious 1955 Lincoln penny with no visible mint mark. At first glance, this coin looks completely ordinary. It is small. It is brown. It carries Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait. Millions of people have seen coins just like it. Most would spend it without a second thought. But hidden behind its simple appearance is a story that has fascinated collectors for decades. The year was 1955. America was booming. New cars filled the roads. Rock and roll was beginning to take over the radio. The United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of pennies to keep up with demand. Nobody expected that one of the most famous coin varieties in American history would emerge from that year. Now here is where things get interesting. The 1955 Lincoln penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark. So finding a 1955 penny without a mint mark was completely normal. But among those millions of coins were a few examples that became legendary. Collectors quickly noticed that some 1955 pennies looked strange. Very strange. The letters appeared doubled. The date looked duplicated. Even the words on the coin seemed to have shadows. It was not damage. It was not wear. It was a genuine minting mistake. Today, this variety is known as the famous 1955 double die obverse penny. The error happened during the die-making process. A slight misalignment created dramatic doubling on the front of the coin. Unlike many mint errors that require magnification, this one can often be seen with the naked eye. That made it instantly recognizable and incredibly desirable. Imagine being a collector in the 1950s and spotting one of these unusual pennies in your change. At the time, many people thought something was wrong with the coin. Others realized they had discovered something special. Word spread rapidly through collector circles. Soon everyone wanted one. The excitement only grew as more people learned about the error. Newspapers discussed it. Coin dealers searched for it. Collectors hunted through rolls of pennies hoping to find the famous doubled lettering. But here is the twist. Even though thousands were released into circulation, finding one today is still extremely difficult. Many were spent. Many were lost. Many suffered decades of wear. That scarcity helped push values higher and higher. A heavily circulated example can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and authenticity. Coins with strong details and less wear command significantly higher prices. High-grade specimens can bring astonishing amounts at auction. Some exceptional examples have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent can become worth enough to buy a luxury vacation, a car, or even help with a house down payment. And that is why collectors never stop searching. But there is another reason this coin captures so much attention. It represents the thrill of discovery. Unlike ancient treasures buried underground, these pennies actually entered everyday circulation. They passed through grocery stores, gas stations, cash registers, and countless pockets across America. Anyone could have found one. That possibility keeps the dream alive. Even today, people sort through old collections inherited from parents and grandparents, hoping to uncover a forgotten rarity. Sometimes they find common pennies. Sometimes they find something extraordinary. The design itself also adds to the coin's appeal. Abraham Lincoln first appeared on the penny in 1909, making it one of the longest-running designs in American coinage history. By 1955, the Lincoln cent was already a familiar symbol to millions of Americans. The combination of a beloved design and a dramatic minting error created the perfect recipe for collector demand. Demand remains incredibly strong because this coin is famous far beyond serious numismatists. Even people who know very little about coins have often heard stories about the legendary 1955 double die penny. That widespread recognition fuels interest year after year. Of course, popularity also attracts counterfeits. Some altered coins attempt to imitate the doubling effect. Others are modified dates or manipulated examples designed to fool inexperienced buyers. That is why professional authentication is so important when evaluating a potentially valuable specimen. A genuine example can be life-changing. A fake example can be disappointing. That difference makes careful examination essential. Another fascinating detail is how dramatic the doubling appears compared to many other error coins. On some varieties, collectors need specialized equipment to identify the mistake. On the famous 1955 example, the doubling can be so obvious that it immediately grabs attention. That visual impact helped transform the coin into a true legend. Over the decades, auction records continued to reinforce its reputation. Whenever an especially nice example appears on the market, collectors compete fiercely to own it. The combination of rarity, history, and fame creates a powerful attraction that few coins can match. And yet, the most exciting part is that many people still overlook old pennies. Jars sit forgotten in closets. Coin albums gather dust on shelves. Inherited collections remain untouched for years. Inside those collections could be hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. That possibility keeps collectors searching every day. The story of the 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is not just about money. It is about history. It is about mistakes becoming valuable. It is about ordinary objects transforming into extraordinary treasures. Most people see a penny and think almost nothing of it. Collectors see possibility. They see mystery. They see a tiny piece of American history that survived against the odds. And somewhere out there, another rare example may still be waiting to be found. So the next time you come across an old penny, do not dismiss it too quickly. Look closely. Check the date. Examine the lettering. Because one small detail could change everything. Now I want to know this. If you discovered a 1955 Lincoln penny in an old coin jar tonight, would you spend it, save it, or rush to have it authenticated? Let me know in the comments. I'm about to tell you the story of a penny that millions of people have ignored for decades. Yet one small detail could make it worth far more than its face value. At first glance, the 1956 Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. It's small. It's brown. It's probably sitting in an old jar, a forgotten coin collection, or even buried in a drawer somewhere right now. Most people would never give it a second look. And that's exactly why some valuable examples continue to hide in plain sight. Back in 1956, America was booming. Cars filled the highways. Rock and roll was taking over the radio. And the United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of Lincoln cents to keep up with a growing economy. Billions of pennies were struck that year. The majority came from the Philadelphia Mint. And here's where things get interesting. Unlike some other U.S. coins, pennies made in Philadelphia during 1956 did not carry a mint mark. That means if you look below the date and see absolutely nothing, you're looking at a Philadelphia issue. Collectors often call it the 1956 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent. Because so many were produced, most people assume every one of them is common. But coin collecting has a funny way of rewarding people who pay attention to details. Tiny details. The kind that most people never notice. The 1956 Lincoln cent features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. On the reverse, you'll find the classic wheat ears design that had been used since 1909. These coins are often called wheat pennies. And among collectors, wheat pennies remain some of the most beloved coins in American history. Why? Because they connect ordinary people to extraordinary moments in the past. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge suggests years of circulation. And every coin passed through countless hands before finding its way into a collection. Now imagine finding a 1956 penny that somehow escaped all that wear. A coin that looks almost exactly the way it did the day it left the mint. That's where values start changing dramatically. A heavily circulated 1956 no-mint mark penny is usually worth only a few cents. Maybe a little more than face value. Nothing life-changing. But when collectors discover examples in exceptional condition, the story becomes very different. The sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the details in the wheat stalks, the original mint luster. These characteristics can transform an ordinary penny into a highly collectible coin. Some uncirculated examples have sold for surprisingly strong prices. and the finest known specimens can reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent. A coin many people would toss into a jar without thinking. A coin that could potentially be worth more than a paycheck. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching. But condition isn't the only thing that matters. Errors can create even more excitement. And error coins are where treasure hunters really start paying attention. During the minting process, mistakes occasionally happen. A die may become damaged. A strike may occur slightly off-center. Letters can appear doubled. Or other unusual characteristics may appear that were never intended. Most coins are made correctly, but when mistakes slip through quality control, collectors often rush to find them. Some 1956 Lincoln cents are known with repunched mint marks on Denver issues. Others show minor varieties and die-related anomalies that specialists study closely. While the Philadelphia no-mint mark version is generally known for its regular production, collectors still inspect every example carefully, because sometimes the smallest difference can mean the biggest discovery. That's the thrill. You never really know what you have until you look closely. Imagine opening an old family coin box. You see a handful of wheat pennies. Most look worn. Some dates are hard to read. Then suddenly one catches your eye. No mint mark. Strong details. Beautiful color. Maybe even unusual characteristics you weren't expecting. Your heart starts beating a little faster. Could it be special? That exact moment has hooked generations of collectors. And it's why coin hunting remains one of the most fascinating hobbies in the world. What makes the 1956 no-mint mark penny especially interesting is that it teaches an important lesson. Rarity alone does not determine value. Condition matters. Demand matters. Appeal matters. Two coins with the same date can have dramatically different values depending on their quality. One might be worth only a few cents. Another might attract serious competition from collectors. That difference can be enormous. The copper composition also adds to the coin's appeal. These pennies were struck from an alloy containing mostly copper. Unlike many modern cents, they have a weight and feel that collectors appreciate. When you hold one, you're holding a small piece of mid-century American history. A coin created during the Eisenhower era. A coin that survived decades of economic change. A coin that witnessed generations come and go. And somehow it's still here, waiting to be discovered. Today, certified high-grade examples continue to attract attention from collectors who want the best of the best. Auction records show that top-quality pieces can command impressive premiums. The difference between average and extraordinary can be shocking. That's why experienced collectors often examine every penny under magnification. Not because they expect every coin to be valuable, but because they know treasure sometimes hides where nobody else is looking. The funny thing is that many valuable coins were never found in museums. They were found in coffee cans, desk drawers, piggy banks, old albums, and inherited collections that sat untouched for years. The next great discovery could happen anywhere. Maybe it's already sitting in someone's house. Maybe it's mixed in with spare change. Maybe it's waiting for a curious person to notice one tiny detail everyone else missed. And that possibility is what makes coin collecting feel like a real-life treasure hunt. The 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may not be the rarest coin ever produced. It may not be the most famous, but it perfectly represents the excitement of the hobby. A humble coin, a fascinating history, the chance of hidden value, and the thrill of discovering something special in the most unexpected place. So now I have to ask you something. Have you ever checked your old pennies for a 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln cent? And if you found one today, what do you think it might be worth? Let me know in the comments. What if I told you a penny that once bought almost nothing could now be worth thousands of dollars, and millions of people have no idea they might have one hiding in a jar, drawer, or forgotten collection? The coin is the 1958 D. Lincoln penny, and its story is far more exciting than most people realize. Back in 1958, America was in a fascinating era. Elvis Presley dominated the charts. Cars were getting bigger. Television was transforming family life. And at the Denver Mint, workers were producing millions of Lincoln pennies that would eventually spread across the entire country. At first glance, the 1958 D. Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front, just as pennies had for decades. On the reverse, you'll find the classic wheat ears design that collectors know and love. But appearances can be very deceiving. The Denver Mint struck more than 800 million of these pennies. That sounds like an enormous number, and it is. Because of that massive production, most examples are still common today. So why are collectors constantly searching for this coin? The answer lies in condition. Most 1958 D pennies entered circulation immediately. They were tossed into cash registers, dropped into pockets, rattled around in purses, and spent countless times over the years. Every transaction added tiny scratches and wear. As decades passed, the vast majority became heavily worn. But a small number escaped that fate. Some lucky pennies were saved the moment they left the mint. They remained untouched, preserving their original luster and sharp details. Today, those high-grade examples are the true treasures. A worn 1958 D. Lincoln penny might only be worth a few cents. Even though it's old, millions still exist. But when collectors find one with blazing red color and nearly perfect surfaces, things become much more interesting. In top condition, these coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Imagine finding a penny that once sat in someone's pocket and discovering it could be worth more than a brand new smartphone. That's exactly why coin hunters never stop looking. Now here's where the story gets even better. The year 1958 marked the end of an era. It was the final year of the famous wheat penny design. For nearly 50 years, Americans carried wheat cents in their pockets. Then, in 1959, the reverse design changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial. That means the 1958 D. Wheat penny represents the last chapter of a legendary coin series. Collectors love coins connected to important historical transitions, and this penny sits right at one of those moments. Owning one is like holding the closing page of a long and fascinating American story. But wait until you hear about the rarest possibility. Most 1958 D pennies are normal coins. However, collectors are always searching for unusual mint errors. During the minting process, machines occasionally make mistakes. A coin might be struck off-center. It might show doubling. It might reveal other unusual characteristics that separate it from millions of ordinary examples. When a genuine error appears on a 1958 D penny, collectors pay attention immediately. Some error coins have sold for impressive premiums simply because they are unique and difficult to find. That's why experienced collectors examine every detail under magnification. One tiny difference can change everything. And then there's the color factor. Many beginners don't realize that copper pennies are often categorized by color. Brown coins are the most common. Red-brown coins fall in the middle. But fully red examples are the stars of the show. That original mint red color fades over time. Exposure to air, handling, and environmental conditions gradually darken the surface. Finding a 1958 D penny that still displays vibrant original red color after all these decades is surprisingly difficult. Collectors compete fiercely for the finest examples. The difference in value between a brown coin and a brilliant red coin can be enormous. Two pennies minted on the same day can end up with dramatically different values simply because one preserved its original appearance better than the other. That fact alone keeps treasure hunters searching through old collections every single day. Now imagine this scenario. A family member leaves behind an old coin jar. Most people see a pile of spare change. A collector sees possibility. Hours of searching begin. Pennies are examined one by one. Dates are checked. Mint marks are inspected. Conditions are compared. Then suddenly, a 1958 D wheat penny appears. Excitement builds. Is it worn? Is it uncirculated? Does it have original red color? Could it contain an error? Every question adds another layer of suspense. That feeling is what makes coin collecting so addictive. You never know when an ordinary-looking coin might reveal an extraordinary story. Auction records prove this again and again. Common coins become valuable because of exceptional preservation. Rare varieties emerge from forgotten collections. Unexpected discoveries happen when people take the time to look closely. The 1958 D. Lincoln penny perfectly represents that thrill. It isn't famous because every example is valuable. It's famous because the right example can surprise everyone. And that's what makes treasure hunting so exciting. The next time you see an old wheat penny, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the tiny D mint mark beneath the year. Inspect the color. Examine the surfaces. Because somewhere out there, a nearly perfect 1958 D. Lincoln penny could still be hiding in plain sight. Maybe it's sitting in a coin album. Maybe it's tucked away in an attic. Maybe it's mixed into a jar of loose change that hasn't been touched in years. And maybe, just maybe, someone who owns it has no idea what they have. That possibility keeps collectors searching year after year. Every coin tells a story. Every collection hides secrets. And every old penny carries the chance of an unexpected discovery. So now I want to know something. Have you ever searched through your spare change and found an old wheat penny? Or could a valuable 1958 D. Lincoln penny be waiting for you right now? I'm about to tell you about a penny that millions of people have seen, thousands have saved, but only a handful truly understand. And by the end of the story, you might be checking every coin in your pocket. The 1975 D. Lincoln penny doesn't look like treasure. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't carry a famous error that instantly grabs headlines. And yet, some examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So what makes this ordinary-looking coin so interesting? The answer begins in Denver, Colorado. Back in 1975, the United States Mint was working around the clock producing coins for a growing economy. Americans needed change. Vending machines needed coins. Banks needed fresh supplies. And the Denver Mint responded in a big way. More than 4 billion 1975 D. Lincoln pennies were struck that year. That number is enormous. In fact, it was one of the largest penny mintages of its era. With so many produced, you might think every 1975 D penny is worth exactly 1 cent. Most are, but not all. And that's where the treasure hunt begins. The coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that first appeared in 1909. Lincoln's calm profile had already become one of the most recognizable images in American history. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. For many Americans, this was the penny they grew up with. They carried it in lunch money. They dropped it into arcade machines. They left it forgotten in dresser drawers. And because so many circulated heavily, finding a truly exceptional example today is surprisingly difficult. That's the first secret collectors know. Rarity isn't always about how many were made. Sometimes it's about how many survived in outstanding condition. Imagine printing billions of trading cards, then letting kids play with them for decades. Most become worn, bent, scratched, damaged. Only a tiny fraction remain perfect. The same thing happened with the 1975 D. Lincoln penny. Collectors searching for high-grade examples face a serious challenge. Many coins left the mint with weak strikes. Others picked up marks during transportation. Many entered circulation immediately and suffered years of wear. That means coins with blazing red surfaces and virtually flawless details can command significant premiums. Professional grading companies evaluate these pennies using the mint state scale. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A typical circulated example is usually worth only a few cents. Even an uncirculated example may sell for just a small premium. But when you reach the highest grades, everything changes. Suddenly collectors compete. Registry set builders get involved. Prices climb rapidly. And that ordinary penny starts behaving like a rare collectible. Some top-grade examples have sold for hundreds of dollars. The finest known pieces have reached into the thousands. All from a coin most people would ignore. But condition isn't the only thing collectors watch for. There's another layer to this mystery. Mint errors. Errors are fascinating because they transform common coins into accidental rarities. They are little moments when the minting process didn't go exactly as planned. And collectors love them. On 1975 D. Lincoln pennies, several types of errors have been discovered. Off-center strikes, decrecs, clipped planchets,
misaligned dies.
And occasionally dramatic striking mistakes that make a coin completely unique. Think about that for a second. Billions of pennies were made to look identical. Yet one tiny mechanical mistake can create a coin worth far more than face value. That possibility keeps collectors searching. Every roll, every jar, every old collection, every forgotten coin box in a relative's attic. Because nobody knows where the next valuable error might appear. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is that valuable discoveries often happen when people least expect them. A collector opens an old bank roll. A family sorts inherited coins. A teenager searches pocket change. And suddenly, an overlooked coin reveals something unusual. That thrill is what makes numismatics addictive. The 1975 D-penny may not be famous like the 1943 copper cent. It may not generate headlines like the 1955 double die. But it offers something different. Accessibility. Almost anyone can find one. That means almost anyone can participate in the hunt. And that hunt has become even more interesting because of the coin's metal composition. The 1975 D-penny was struck primarily from copper. That was before the major composition change in 1982. As a result, these coins contain far more copper than modern Lincoln cents. Many collectors enjoy holding them simply because they represent a different era of American coinage. An era before rising metal costs forced changes to the cent. Every 1975 D-penny is a small copper time capsule. It survived decades of history, the end of the Vietnam War, economic changes, technological revolutions, the rise of personal computers, the internet, and everything that followed. That tiny coin has witnessed nearly half a century of American life. Now here's something many people don't realize. Color matters. A lot. When grading Lincoln cents, experts often classify them as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red example retains most of its original mint color. Those bright copper-red surfaces are highly desirable, and they become increasingly difficult to find as coins age. Copper naturally changes over time, darkens, tones. It loses that fresh mint appearance. So when collectors discover a 1975 D-penny that still glows with original red brilliance, attention follows. And attention often means higher prices. This is why two pennies with the same date can have dramatically different values. One might be worth a few cents. The other could be worth hundreds. The difference lies in preservation, condition, appeal, and rarity within grade. That's what separates everyday coins from serious collectibles. The most successful collectors understand this lesson early. They stop looking only at dates. They start looking at quality. Because quality is often where the real money hides. And that brings us back to the original question. Why should anyone care about a 1975 D Lincoln penny? Because it proves something remarkable. Treasure doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it sits unnoticed among thousands of other coins. Yet, under the right circumstances, that humble penny can become a prized collectible, a conversation piece, a historical artifact, or even a surprisingly valuable discovery. The next time you see a 1975 D Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it. Turn it over. Look closely. Check the surfaces. Examine the details. Search for unusual features. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 4-figure collectible can be smaller than you think. And now I want to know this. Have you ever found a coin in your pocket change that turned out to be worth far more than you expected? Or could your next discovery be hiding in a 1975 D Lincoln penny right now? Many people have spent a 2009 D Lincoln penny without realizing they may have been holding one of the most fascinating modern coins ever produced. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just another penny hiding in a jar, a piggy bank, or the bottom of a car cup holder. But the story behind this coin is anything but ordinary. In fact, the 2009 D Lincoln penny was created to celebrate one of the most important anniversaries in American history, and some examples have surprised collectors with values far beyond 1 cent. To understand why this coin matters, you have to travel back to 2009. That year marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself. The United States Mint decided this milestone deserved something special. Instead of producing the same reverse design used for decades, the Mint released 4 different Lincoln penny designs throughout the year. Each design represented a different stage of Lincoln's life. The Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark, struck millions of these coins. But here's where things get interesting. Many people never paid attention to which design they had. They spent them, lost them, or tossed them into change jars without a second thought. Years later, collectors started hunting them down. The first design showed Lincoln's birth and early childhood in Kentucky. The second honored his formative years in Indiana. The third represented his professional life in Illinois. And the fourth celebrated his presidency in Washington, D.C. Suddenly, collectors weren't looking for just one 2009 D-penny. They were searching for 4 different versions. That created excitement. People began checking pocket change. Coin roll hunters started opening bank rolls by the thousands. And the hunt continues today. Now here's something many viewers don't know. Even though millions were struck, the 2009 Lincoln pennies had lower mintages than many modern cents. Compared to typical Lincoln pennies produced in the billions, some of these 2009 issues were noticeably scarcer. That doesn't automatically make every coin valuable. But it definitely makes collectors pay attention. And when collectors pay attention, prices can rise. The real treasure hunt begins when condition enters the picture. Most 2009 D Lincoln pennies circulated heavily. They picked up scratches, discoloration, and wear. Those coins are usually worth only a small premium over face value. But pristine examples are a different story. Imagine a coin leaving the mint in perfect condition. No marks, no wear, sharp details, bright original color. Now imagine that same coin surviving untouched for years. Suddenly, it becomes much harder to find. Collectors compete fiercely for high-grade examples because condition is everything in the coin market. A common coin in average condition may be worth a few cents. The same coin in exceptional condition could be worth tens or even hundreds of dollars. That's where grading services enter the story. Professional grading companies examine coins under magnification and assign numerical grades. The higher the grade, the rarer the coin becomes. For certain 2009 D Lincoln pennies, top-graded examples have sold for surprisingly strong prices. And that's when people start digging through old penny collections. But wait, the story gets even more exciting. Collectors aren't just looking for high grades, they're searching for errors. Mint errors can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. A tiny mistake during production can create enormous interest. Off-center strikes.
Die Cracks. Die Chips. Misaligned dies.
Double impressions. These are the kinds of discoveries that make collectors' hearts race. Most 2009 D-pennies show no major errors. But when genuine mint mistakes appear, they can command impressive premiums. Imagine finding a penny worth 1 cent that suddenly becomes worth $50, $100, or even more because of a production mistake. That's why so many people inspect every detail carefully. One unusual coin can change everything. The historical significance also adds another layer of demand. Abraham Lincoln remains one of the most admired presidents in American history. The 2009 series wasn't just another coin release. It was a tribute, a celebration, a miniature history lesson carried in everyday pocket change. Each design tells a chapter of Lincoln's journey from humble beginnings to the White House. Collectors love stories, and few American stories are more powerful than Lincoln's. That's part of what keeps demand alive. The coin isn't merely copper-coated zinc. It's a piece of history. Now let's talk value. Most circulated 2009 D Lincoln pennies are worth anywhere from face value to a few cents, depending on condition and collector demand. Uncirculated examples often sell for higher amounts. Brilliant red coins with strong eye appeal can attract collector interest. Certified high-grade pieces may bring significantly more. Some exceptional examples graded at the very top of the population have achieved prices reaching into the hundreds of dollars. And rare error varieties can sometimes exceed those amounts. The exact value depends on condition, rarity, certification, and market demand at the time of sale. That's why two coins that appear nearly identical can have dramatically different values. One might be worth a penny. The other might be worth enough to make someone smile all week. Here's something even more fascinating. Many valuable coins are discovered by accident. Not in treasure chests, not in secret vaults, not in museum collections. They're found in everyday places. A forgotten coffee can, an old dresser drawer,
A grandparentes coiniar.
a bank roll purchased for a few dollars. Stories like these fuel the excitement of coin collecting, because every collector secretly hopes the next coin they examine will be special. And sometimes it is. That's the magic. You never know what you'll find until you look. The 2009 D. Lincoln penny represents that possibility perfectly. It combines history, collectability, multiple designs, potential errors, and the thrill of discovery. Even people who know nothing about coins often become curious once they learn the story. A simple penny suddenly becomes an artifact, a tiny metal time capsule, a reminder that valuable treasures don't always glitter. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. Maybe one is sitting in your change jar right now. Maybe you've already spent one without realizing it. Or maybe the next handful of pennies you check will reveal a coin collectors have been searching for. That's what keeps the hunt alive. Every penny has a story, but the 2009 D. Lincoln penny tells 4 stories at once. And for some collectors, that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. So now I want to know, have you ever checked your pocket change and found a coin worth more than face value? Or could a hidden 2009 D. Lincoln penny be waiting for you right now?